This episode of the Young Turks is brought to you by Squarespace.
Now, some have alleged that some of the newly elected Tea Party-backed Republicans can be a little extreme. I don't know who might have alleged that, I'm just saying. Well, as if to prove the critics right, Congressman-elect Allen West of Florida has chosen conservative talk show host Joyce Kaufman as his chief of staff. Here's one of Kaufman's choice quotes about illegal immigrants. "If you commit a crime while you're here, we should hang you and send your body back to where you came from, and your family should pay for it." If that wasn't enough, she also says that the children of illegal immigrants should not receive an education, because that'll really help local communities to have children running around without an education and nowhere to go all day. But better yet, she also says that illegal immigrants should not be treated at hospitals here if they come in sick or hurt. Yes, if someone comes in from a car accident and they're bleeding to death, that would be a perfect time to ask them for their papers. But unbelievably, she will now be the chief of staff for a United States congressman. Now, Joy Ann Reid is a political columnist for the Miami Herald and editor of the ReidReport.com. She's joining me now to talk about this. Joy, let me start with this. I can't believe it. She's really going to be a chief of staff in Congress?
Yes, she is, Jake. And, I think what's interesting is that Joyce Kaufman is getting a lot of airtime now, but this really actually highlights what I've sort of called, the right-wing talk radio callers go to Washington. You have a lot of these Tea Party candidates that are going to Washington who essentially represent a right wing that predates the Tea Party. And Joyce Kaufman, yeah, she's that extreme, but you know what? So is Allen West. She perfectly represents his ideology. There is very little difference between the two. So if you think that she's out there, well, so is Allen West.
Well, he's been on her show over 100 times, so it's not like he's unfamiliar with her viewpoints. So what are the real implications here? I mean, are they going to put together legislation to hang illegal immigrants?
I mean, really what's interesting is Allen West and they both share a very visceral dislike for Islam and for Muslims, really vicious on the radio. And he's been a talk radio caller, literally frequent right-wing talk radio caller, not just to her show, but to other shows. They have a very extreme stance on immigration that, again, predates the Tea Party. They didn't just get started with the Tea Party movement. And so I wonder about constituent services. There's a relatively significant Muslim population in Florida. I would hate to see how the constituent services are going to work there in Palm Beach and in northern Broward County. And, will Allen West stick to his principles and propose some of the legislation that he and Joyce both agree on? We'll see.
Joy, is he the guy that went after the coexist bumper sticker? Do you remember this?
Yes, he's the guy. I absolutely do. He went after the coexist bumper stickers. He does not like the idea of coexisting. He believes that, for instance, Sharia law is sweeping across the country and attempting to take over, much like Sharon Angle believed. He's called Social Security a giant Ponzi scheme. He has gone out and also protested the building of any mosques in South Florida, and she's been a big supporter of that. These two have been walking in lockstep for a long time. And Joyce Kaufman is getting attention now because she's on the radio, but Allen West has been spouting a lot of the same beliefs. He just doesn't have a show.
He does have a point, though. The Muslims are coming. They're coming. They took over Park Avenue the other day. I don't know if you heard that. I mean, really, in what world are they Muslims taking over Florida? So, I mean, it leads you to the question of, what kind of weird conspiracies are these guys going to do in Congress? In fact, let me give you one more quote from Kaufman. She said, there are people who want to change your way of life, and some of them may be your gardeners. Is there a gardener conspiracy afoot, and are they working with the Muslims?
Well, you know what? I question whether, Thurston and Lovey really understood what they were electing when they voted to get some tax cuts by voting R and getting Allen West in there. I mean, this is a guy who has said you have to gather your muskets and march on Washington to end the tyranny of the Obama administration. Joyce Kaufman has said that essentially if West is not elected and other Tea Partiers are not elected, then people should be prepared to get their cartridges out. They should be prepared to die and be prepared to get their guns in order to take over Congress. So really, we're talking about an extreme form of conservatism that isn't just Tea Party conservatism. It's extreme by any measure, and it's not just about economics. It's also going after Muslims, going after immigrants. So we're in for a wild ride, and I don't know. I'd love to be a fly on the wall at the breakers when these two show up.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out. I have one quick question for you left. Joyce Kaufman is still remaining as a quote-unquote correspondent for a radio station as she's going to be chief of staff in Congress.
Right.
Is that even legal?
Well, you know what? Joyce Kaufman is the most popular. She hosts the most popular program on this station, WFTL. The station claims that she is going to remain in their employ. It is legal. Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington looked into it, and they said that, yeah, there are ethics rules that limit what you can do as a staffer to a member of Congress. So up to a point, she can hold another job. But look, the issues are going to be if she's disclosing information on the air that she shouldn't be. If he's on certain committees that deal, let's say, with national security, let's say he gets on one of those committees, she's going to really have to walk a fine line about what she can say, particularly since she's not a reporter. She is a talk radio personality whose job in a lot of ways is to be extreme. So I question whether or not she's going to be able to hold the line on the ethical front.
And particularly because she's not been overly careful about what she said in the past. All right, Joy.
Not at all. And she's now being paid by the taxpayer. So, you know, she's all yours.
Yeah. Joy. All right, Joy Ann Reid, the Miami Herald. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
New sponsor at the Young Turks, Squarespace. They help you build websites. They've got 24/7 support, and they've built some of the largest websites in the world.
They have an iPhone app, so you can edit your website on the go.
TYT promo code, 10% off for the life of your order. Squarespace.